Picture this. Samus's consciousness is rapidly fading as she returns to Federation space from ZDR. Adam's robotic voice informs her that continuing to fly the ship would be unwise. Her bioenergy readings are dangerously low, and she needs to, putting it bluntly, stop and get a bite to eat. The nearest planet is, conveniently, positively abundant with bioenergy, so struggling to pilot her ship, Samus lets Adam take over as they breach atmosphere. The second the ship leaves vacuum, something in Samus changes. She jolts upright, tearing the restraints that keep her in place during spaceflight to pieces. Adam pleads with her to control herself, but without success. She pries open the hatch usually used to quickly recharge her shields and leaps out into the open air, descending like a bird of prey into the jungle below. By the time she's out of the ship, the Metroid suit has already returned, and then some. Adam's pleas to Samus ring inside her head, drowning out the rushing air as everything goes black. The hunter comes to in the jungle below, with fleeting memories of violent conflict distracting her only for a moment from the devastation surrounding her. The soil is bone white. Trees have been reduced to glassy black husks. A brief scan of the area shows only trace signs of life, scavengers that consume minerals inedible to even Samus, returning to the area after her rampage. A message from Adam opens with her waking, informing her that he's safely landed the ship on one of the planet's moons. If she were to drain its power, they would be stranded with no way to call for help. And she has become far too dangerous to risk calling a Federation vessel now. And yet, hope springs eternal. The planet she's made landfall on is known for its massive life forms and extreme hostility, with no successful attempts to create an outpost by any faction on record. Hypothetically, if Samus were to consume enough bioenergy from the enormous creatures on the planet, she could sate her Metroid hunger long enough for a more permanent solution to be found. Once again, Samus has become the dreaded hunter. This time, not of bounty, but of beast. The dangerous creatures on this mysterious world each have their own skills and traits, every one of which Samus must overcome and assimilate to prepare for her true quarry. Titanic fauna that dwarf even her largest past foes and carry boundless energy within their bodies. With her humanity on the line, Samus must fight like a wild animal, lest the galaxy know the ravenous horror of the last Metroid. So, Metroid Ravenous, huh? This is probably the best thing any government has done in a long time. Normally, I prefer to stay out of discussions like this. I'm not the video essay type, and I kind of think speculation is a little pointless. But I've been seeing a lot of discussion in comments sections and even in videos about the fact that the first 5 letters of Ravenous, incredible name by the way, spell Raven. Frankly, I think Ravenbeak returning wouldn't just be bad, it would damage Metroid Dread's story retroactively. Let's get this out of the way first. Ravenbeak is not Ridley, nor is he Dark Samus. I've seen so many people say that because Metroid villains are hard to kill, Ravenbeak returning from being literally vaporized on screen is a foregone conclusion. The two are not the same, biologically or narratively. There's a whole video essay in that truth that I'll let some other guy more interested in such things write, but the point is that Ridley and Dark Samus, both having, by their very nature, functions to return to life after seeming death, means nothing for Ravenbeak. Secondly, and infinitely more importantly, there is a very major and deliberate sequence of Samus taking the time to not just kill Ravenbeak, but ensure that whatever remained of him was utterly obliterated. Even if you were to write an out, a metaphorical trapdoor for him to escape through, he is narratively dead. Samus has overcome every challenge he could present and defeated him, both martially and ideologically. Bringing him back would be Disney-tier brain-dead pandering, and would make the scene in which she annihilates him in retribution for all of the senseless death his hubris caused pointless. Of course, that doesn't mean I think it's impossible, far from it. When you enjoy video games for as long as I have, disappointment is your constant companion. But this isn't a video about Ravenbeak or Ridley or any Metroid villain for that matter. In fact, it's the opposite. I think that Metroid Ravenous, as I really hope it's actually called, doesn't just not need some new or returning central villain. I think it would be better off without one. Obviously, I don't mean that there shouldn't be, any enemies or bosses or a final boss or something like that. What I mean is the most interesting conflict Metroid Ravenous could present is one entirely within Samus herself. The name, Metroid Ravenous, says so much with very little. If you are ravenous, you are not just hungry. You aren't even just starving. You are so hungry that it has made you aggressive, maybe even violent. It isn't difficult to link this to Samus's ever-evolving Metroid state as of Metroid Fusion. Not unlike Metroid Prime 3 Corruption and its phase-on, Samus has been overcome by her Metroid DNA, to the point that it has become a danger to her and those around her. This isn't solved, merely delayed, by what I can only assume is Quiet Robe possessing his own X-infected corpse to sacrifice his X-core and therefore Thoha DNA at the very tail end of Dread. For those of you who don't know or don't remember, all Metroids on a genetic level are predisposed to obey Thoha tribe Chozo. As she escapes the destruction of planet ZDR, Samus's future is left shrouded in mystery. Something that the developers have called attention to a couple of times, basically saying that the future of the Metroid franchise can be found within Dread's ending. Also, side tangent, ZDR blows up because it had been entirely infested by the X. Ravenbeak wasn't stupid. He was planning to clone Samus, blow up ZDR to kill the X for good, and take off to conquer the galaxy to enact his own iron-fisted version of peace. It's possible it was even rigged to detonate on some sort of dead man's switch. Come on. Metroid is supposed to be the more thoughtful series compared to other Nintendo franchises, yet I see so many people treat the explosion of ZDR like some sort of insane, unsolvable mystery. Did we really need a big red button that Ravenbeak hits that says, blow up the planet real big on it? Anyway, going forward, Samus is a ticking time bomb. Metroids are not creatures known for their discipline when it comes to feeding, and she is bar none the most powerful of the species to ever exist. Unlike Phazon, which was an outside force invading Samus's body, her very DNA has been spliced with that of a Metroid. She cannot simply defeat a big monster and be free of her blight. I guess she could, but that'd be really stupid. Samus's biggest problem, and the biggest threat to the galaxy, is now her own dang self. The Metroid suit form is so dangerous that she cannot consciously control its ability to siphon energy at such a rate that it would leave her own ship inoperable. For the record, not once at any point in the entire series has Samus's ship been described as out of fuel. This isn't even mentioning the other, potentially larger issue. If there is one thing Metroids do that isn't eat, it's that they evolve and grow stronger. Even when outside of their home environment, they find new ways to metamorphose, grow, and yes, multiply. This leaves Samus with a much more interesting conflict than we usually get in Metroid. Not only is there no opposing force that she must destroy with overwhelming firepower and skill, but Samus's personal involvement with the consequences of failure is greater than ever. Metroids find a way. Is Samus no different? Will Samus be at risk of mutating, evolving, maybe even creating Metroid offspring of her own? If Samus herself is already one of the most dangerous things in existence, what if there were more of her? Things that make Dark Samus and SAX look like child's play. Metroids with human intelligence and cunning, capable of consuming entire populations and reducing civilizations to dust in the wind. I mean, okay, I really doubt Nintendo would lean into the body horror angle, even with a franchise targeting older audiences like Metroid, but the potential is there, especially for a conflict that focuses entirely on Samus and the many conflicting forces that have literally and figuratively shaped her. The Woman's 23andMe is a fucking crossword puzzle. That's gotta have an effect on someone whose psyche is probably already kind of shaky. I think people shy away from Samus showing weakness or signs of the trauma she'd have from her life because of Other M, and rightly so, to be fair. That game and its story are an utter shit show, and don't even give me that "oh, but the Japanese script is better" crap. By far the most damage the game did, even beyond making Samus a quivering schoolgirl and effectively putting the series in a coma, was shutting down the exploration of our girl as a character, and the mental and emotional turmoil she must face. She's personally responsible for the destruction of at least 3 planets, and has genocided, 4 races now? On top of her incredibly harsh childhood, she's gotta be feeling things. Interesting things that I want to know about, and that maybe would influence the way she confronts this new internal terror she's facing. Samus is by far the most complex and interesting of the Nintendo main characters. They should capitalize on that, and, actually do it well. And honestly, yeah, it would be nice to have Samus in a new story that isn't completely bare bones and doesn't suck. Especially after Prime 4, man, what the fuck? Am I the only one who thought the Lemorne were going to turn out to be evil? They were so incompetent that I thought it was actually building up to a twist reveal. No, they're just stupid. So that's great. Thanks. There's my Metroid Prime 4 rant for those of you who have been waiting for that. The reason I make this video is because I think that Ravenous has a ton of potential, just by its name alone. It doesn't need a central villain. It doesn't need a mastermind plotting from the shadows. It doesn't need to establish a new overarching threat for the Metroid series going forward, unless that threat is Samus herself, of course. It doesn't need Ravenbeak, it doesn't need the corrupt Federation element, and it doesn't need Ridley, as much as I'd love to fight him again. The most interesting and effective thing Ravenous can do, in my opinion, is to focus in on Samus. Make this a game about her, and about overcoming one's own nature. Let Metroid Ravenous be scary. Let it be painful. Let it be uncomfortable. Metroid Ravenous could be a horror story about everything you've ever built in your life, all of the work you've ever put in to fighting for good, being turned to evil by your own hand. Oh, and make it really fun. Really fun. Metroid Dread was so much fun. I loved it. I started speedrunning that game. I loved it so much. You could make it about Samus fighting the fucking minions, and as long as it plays like Dread but better, I'd buy 3 of them. I'm a slut for Metroid. I'm not afraid to admit it. Anyway, thanks for listening to my ramble. Let me know in the comments how much of a noob I am for thinking Ravenbeak is dead, or if you want me to make a video ranking my top 10 Metroid hentai doujins, or if you just think my hypothetical game at the beginning was cringe and gay. This has been Torvis, and I really hope all of you escape the planet before it blows up. Appreciate you sticking around and watching, and God bless.